All right, guys, today I'm going to go over all of your practice problems that you should have done with a partner or on your own, depending on what you chose to do. We're going to go over so you can check all the answers and make sure you understand how to do this work. So let's start with question number 1. This is clearly a circle. So we're going to need the formula for area of circle to calculate the area, and the formula for circumference, which is like perimeter, to calculate the perimeter. So I'm going to start with area. I'm going to say A equals pi r squared, because that's the formula for area of the circle. Remember that radius is going to be half the diameter, and since I have the diameter here, I'm going to use my radius, which is 7. So now I have A equals pi times 7 squared. 7 squared is 49, so I'm going to have A equals 49 pi. And if it had told me I could leave it in terms of pi, I could put my units here and call it a day, but it doesn't. So I have to calculate 49 times pi. Now, it does allow me to use a calculator, so I'm going to go ahead and open up my calculator in the next tab. Okay, and I'm going to do 49 times 3.14. I could have used the pi symbol as well. Either one would have worked. Oops, and I put 3.4 versus 3.14. There we go, and it's 153.86. So then I'm going to go back to my notes here, and I know my area is equal to 153.86, and I always have to use my units, which are millimeters, and since it is area, it's going to be millimeters squared. So there's my first one, which is my area. Now it's time for me to move on to my circumference. The formula for circumference is C equals pi d, with d being the diameter. So I'm going to do C equals pi times 14. And again, if it said to put it in terms of pi, I could have left it there, but it doesn't. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to clear out my calculator, and I'm going to do 14 times 3.14. And of course, you could use pi as well. I'm using 3.14 for you guys in case you tried to do it by hand. So that's 43.96. So I'm going to come back over here and I'm going to put 43.96. And of course, units are important. And so it's just going to be, because it's perimeter, or circumference is a form of perimeters, it's just millimeters. And now I'm done with problem number 1, and I'm ready for problem number 2. Now, problem number 2 is a composite shape. I've got 2 different shapes. I've got a rectangle and half of a circle. So to find my area of the shape, I have to find the area of that rectangle and add it to the area of this half of the circle. So for area of my shape, I'm going to do area of the rectangle plus area of the circle, and I'm going to divide it by 2 to get half my circle. So now I'm going to plug in those formulas, and I'm going to get area equals length times width plus pi r squared divided by 2. Okay, now I have to figure out what my radius is. Since this is 6 down here, I know that this has to be 6 up here as well. So my radius is going to be 1/2 of 6, because 6 is my diameter, which is 3. So now I can plug everything in, and I'm going to have A equals, well, my length and my width are 6 times 2, which I need to know is 12, plus pi times 3 squared over 2. So now I'm going to figure that out to figure out what my overall area is by plugging that into the calculator. Because I have it to here, I can now go and plug into the calculator. So I'm going to click on my Desmos calculator. I'm going to hit clear all, and I'm going to do 3 squared, which is 9, times pi, which is 3.14, and I'm going to divide that by 2. And I get 14.13. And so now I'm going to hit enter, and I'm going to hit answer plus 12. That's 26.13 is going to be my total area. So if I come over here, back over here, I'm going to write this in. My area is 26.13. And now I've got to put my units, which is feet. And since it's area, which is feet times feet, it's feet squared. Okay. So now I've got to move on to my perimeter. Now my perimeter is going to be 3 of the sides of my rectangle, these 3 sides, and then the half of my circle. So remember that perimeter of a circle is called circumference. So I'm going to have to find my circumference and add it to those 3 sides of my perimeter. So I'm going to say that P is equal to my circumference. But do I have a full circle here? No. I only have half, so it's my circumference divided by 2 plus 2 plus 6, which is this, and then plus another 2. So now I'm going to plug in my formula and simplify what I'm adding. 2 plus 6 plus 2 is 10. So I'm going to have P equals my circumference, which is pi times d over 2 plus 10. And now I'm going to plug it in one last time. My diameter is 6. So it's going to be pi times 6 all over 2 plus 10. So now I'm going to figure out what that answer is by plugging it into my calculator. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to go ahead and clear everything out. So we know that our pi is 6, or I mean our diameter is 6. So I'm going to do 6 times 3.14. I'm going to hit enter, and then I'm going to answer and divide it by 2 to get me that circumference, which is 9.42. Then I'm going to take that answer and add 10 to it. And that gives me 19.42. So now I'm going to come back over here, and I'm going to write that answer in. It's 19.42, and my units are just plain feet. All right, so I'm done with problems 1 and 2, and I can move on now to problems 3 and 4. All right, so problem number 3 is asking just for the surface area of this shape. So it's very important to pay attention to this shape and what it looks like. If I were to fold this out into a net, I would have a triangle here, and these triangles are the exact same size, plus this rectangle. Then I would have the rectangle that comes off this hypotenuse here, which is going to be a little bit bigger, then plus the rectangle from the bottom here, which is just a tiny bit smaller. So now let's put those numbers in. So I've got 7 inches here as my bottom. Okay. And then right here, I have 3 inches as my height. Okay. Now, this one right here across that's connecting side to side is going to be 24 inches. Okay. And then my hypotenuse one, which is right here, is 25 inches with a height of 3. And then my final one here is 7 inches with a height of 3 again. So I've got 2 triangles that are the same size, but all my rectangles are not. So if I'm calculating my surface area, it's going to be equal to 2 times the area of the triangle plus the area of the rectangle 1, area of rectangle 2, and area of rectangle 3. So if I plug that in formula-wise, I'm going to see SA equals 2 times 1/2 length times width plus length times width plus length times width plus length times width. Okay, so now if I plug in my numbers, what I'm going to get is 2 times 1/2 times 7 times 3 plus my first length times width, which is 3 times 24, plus 3 times 25, plus 3 times 7. Okay, now this 2 and 1/2 are going to cancel each other out. So now I have 7 times 3, which is 21, plus 3 times 24. So let's do that on my calculator. Clear all. 3 times 24, which is 72. So I'm going to come back over here and I'm going to write plus 72 plus 3 times 25. So I'm going to clear all. 3 times 25, which is 75. And I'm going to click back over here. Oops, that's the wrong one. Which is going to be, and you know what? 3 times 25 is 75, but I plugged in a wrong number. This is not 3 high. This is 7 high and 24 long. So this is 24 and this is 7. So that actually changes what goes in here. This should be times 24. So that's going to change this 21 number. But 3 times 7 here is 21, so I'm just going to add it here at the end. These two cancel out, but what's 7 times 24? 7 times 24 is 168. So now I'm going to take that, I'm going to add that on here. And so now I just need to add all these numbers together. So it's 21 plus 72 plus 75 plus 68. So I'm going to come here, and I'm going to hit clear all. And I'm going to do 21 plus 72 plus 75 plus 168. That gives me 336, and that's going to be my answer, is 336 inches squared. All right, moving into this shape here, we need the area and the perimeter. But there are actually missing values here that I didn't notice to type in for you guys. So what you need to type in here is this is actually 3.6 here, and this one is 4.2 here. That is my fault for not including that. So let's start with the area. I have 2 triangles and a rectangle. So to calculate my area, I need area equals, because see, we have this triangle here, and then this rectangle. So I'm going to say 2 times the area of the triangle plus the area of the rectangle. So now I'm going to plug in my formulas. So A equals 2 times 1/2 length times width plus length times width. Okay, the 2 and the 1/2 are going to cancel each other out because 2 times 1/2 is 1. Then I'm going to plug in my length and my width of my triangle. Ooh, they're not the same. Look, that's 3 and 3, and that's 2 and 3. So it's actually going to be, let's change that. See, this is why sometimes we got to slow down and not go super fast, even with geometry, because we can miss things like Miss Stiles just did. So it's 1/2 base times height, because it's the area of the triangle plus the area of the triangle, base times height, plus the length times width. So now let's plug that in numbers wise. So I've got 2 and 3 here, so it's 1/2, 2 times 3, plus 3 and 3 here, so it's 1/2, 3 times 3, plus the length and the width of this rectangle. This rectangle is 8 plus the 3 feet long, so 8 plus 3 feet is 11 times 4. So then if I calculate this out, 2 times 3 is 6, 1/2 times 6 is 3, plus 3 times 3 is 9, 1/2 of 9 is 4.5, plus 11 times 4 is 44. So then that makes 44 plus 45 is 48.5, plus 3 is going to be 51.5, and my units are going to be feet squared. Now perimeter is going to be a lot easier. For perimeter, I'm just adding up all the sides. So I'm going to start here and do 4 plus 8 plus 4.2 plus 3 plus, this is 4 right here, plus 2 plus 3.6 plus 8. So now I just have to plug those all into my calculator here. So again, that was clear all, 4 plus 8 plus 4.2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 2 plus 3.6 plus 8, and that gives us 36.8. So my perimeter is equal to 36.8 feet. All right, so let's move on to our next one. So now it says Mr. Ranella loves camping, but he doesn't want to buy his own tent. He wants a tent that is following his own dimensions. So he's going to make it out of fabric. All right. So here's the tent he drew out. So we need to know how much he needs. So this is an equilateral triangle here. It's 6 feet tall, 6 feet wide. So it's 6 feet here as well. Okay. So what that means is we're looking at two triangles, right? That are 6 feet tall and 6 feet wide. Okay. So there's two of these plus 3 rectangles. Now, since my triangle sides are all 3 the same, that means all 3 of these rectangles are going to be the same. So 3 rectangles that are 6 feet tall by 14 feet wide. If you're wondering where I got 3 rectangles, well, we've got one for this side, one for this side, but we don't want him sleeping on the floor of the ground or it'll be really cold. So there's one on the bottom too, because tents have a bottom. So both sides and a bottom. So that means that to calculate the tent, I need to find the surface area or the amount of fabric we're going to need for the 2 triangles areas and the 3 rectangles areas. Okay. And so that gives me then surface area is equal to 2 times 1/2 length times width plus 3 times length times width. And now I'm going to plug it in. So that surface area equals 2 times 1/2 6 times 6 plus 3 times 14 times 6. So now I can go ahead and plug this in to find out what my total surface area is. So remember that the 1/2 and the 2 are going to cancel out and make 1. So 6 times 6 is 36 plus, let's go to the calculator and do 14 times 6. So I'm going to hit clear all. 14 times 6 is entered to set is going to be, oops, that's 5. 14 times 6 is 84. Then if we take that answer and multiply by 3, because we have 3 rectangles, we get 252. If we take that answer and add our 36 for our triangles, we get 288. So go back here. Our surface area is 288 square feet. So he's going to need 288 square feet of fabric. Okay. So then our next one, it says, congratulations, you have bought a house. Before you can meet with the landscapers to plan your yard, you need to know the area in square feet. Calculate the area of the yard using the picture below. So we need to find out the area of this composite shape. There are 2 triangles here, but the triangles are not the same, and a rectangle. So our area of the shape is going to be area of triangle 1 plus area of triangle 2 plus the area of the rectangle. And now we're going to go ahead and plug in the formulas. So it's going to be area equals 1/2 length times width plus 1/2 length times width plus area or length times width. Okay, so now if I plug it in, my first triangle I can see is 12 feet long by 5 feet wide. So it's going to be 12 times 5, 1/2, 12 times 5 plus 1/2. My second triangle is 7 feet tall by 24 feet wide. So 7 times 24 plus 24 times 12. So now if I want to simplify that, 12 times 5 is 60. 1/2 of that is going to give me 30. Plus, I don't know 7 times 24 off the top of my head, so I'm going to come over here and I'm going to hit clear all, and I'm going to do 7 times 24, which gives me 168. I then have to take that answer and divide it by 2 to get 84. So then that gives me 84 plus, I need to do 24 times 12. I'm going to hit clear all, and I'm going to do 24 times 12, which is 288. So now I just need to add them all up. So that's 288 plus our 30. Plus, what was our other total? 84. and it's going to give us 402 square feet. So I'm going to put that on here. This was 288, and our total square footage was 402 feet squared. And there's the area of our yard. Moving on to our next problem. It now says find the area of the shaded region. So I've got to find the area of this square and subtract the area of the square inside to find the area of the shaded region. So I'm going to say area of the rectangle is equal to area of the rectangle minus area of the rectangle. So it's going to be length times width minus length times width. So if I plug that in, I get 12 times 10 minus 7 times 2. And I can do that math in my head pretty easily. 12 times 10 is 120 minus 7 times 2 is 14. So 120 minus 14 is going to give me 106. So my area of the shaded region is 106 meters, and I'm going to make sure I mark this squared. So now I have to just find the perimeter of the shaded region. So remember, perimeter is like putting a fence around everything that's yours. So I have to put a fence on the inside and on the outside. So I'm going to do 12 plus 10. That gives me these two sides. Then plus another 12 and another 10 plus 12 plus 10. Then I have to add the fence in here. So plus 7 plus 7 plus 2 plus 2. So 12 plus 10 is 22, plus another 12 is 34, plus 10 is 44. So then that gives us 44 plus 7 is 14, plus 4 is 18. So then I have 44 plus 18. So if I wanted to plug that into the calculator just to make sure I know 100%, 44 plus 18 is going to give me 62. So then I have 62 feet for my perimeter. All right, finishing off my last one, the area of the shaded. So again, I have to calculate the area of my circle and subtract the area of my square. So the area of the shaded is equal to area of the circle minus area of the square. So area of the shaded is going to be equal to pi r squared minus length times width. And now if I plug that in, the area of the shaded is going to be pi times, since I have 14 here, half of that is 7 for my radius, so 7 squared minus length times width, which is 6 times 6. So then I can make that 36. I know that's 49 times pi, so let's do that here because 7 squared is 49. So now I need to do 49 times 3.14. That gives me 153.86. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to say equals 153.86 minus 36. So now I'm going to subtract that to figure out my answer. So I'm going to hit enter answer minus 36. And that's 117.86. So then I can come here and I can say area of the shaded is going to be 117.86 feet squared. All right, last is for perimeter of the shaded. So remember that perimeter of circles is circumference. So we're going to have to find the circumference, but then we're going to have to add this extra on the inside, which is going to be 6 times 4. So I'm going to do perimeter is equal to the circumference plus 6 times 4. We know 6 times 4 is 24, so perimeter is equal to the circumference plus 24. And our circumference is pi times d, so p is equal to pi times d plus 24. And then again, d is going to be 14, so p is equal to pi times 14 plus 24. And now I'll just plug that into the calculator to figure that out. So let's go over here and we're going to do clear all here, and we're going to do 14 times 3.14. Oops. 0.14. There we go. We're going to hit enter, and we're going to then take answer and add 24 to it, and that gives me 67.96. So then if I come over here, we say equals to 67.96, and that's feet. All right, we've done all the practice problems now. So now you're going to move on and make sure you have checkpoint 1 and 2 done. Have a great day, guys.